Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and every week I take a look at what's happening in the real estate market here. Whether you know about the villages or not, if you watch this show, you will have a very good understanding as to what's happening here, what has been happening, and you can form an opinion as to what will happen. I will show you where the properties for sale are located. I'll break them down by price. I'll show you the different regions of the villages and how prices vary between them. And we do this show every Monday. So, firstly, I would advise you to please check the date to make sure you're getting the most recent information. Secondly, let's talk about the villages. For those who don't know, the Villages is a retirement community located in Central Florida. 55 plus community, which means most of the residents are over 55. As a matter of fact, most are over 60, but there are residents living here who are younger, and it is allowed. We have championship golf courses, executive golf courses, live entertainment 365 days a year in four different locations at the village town squares. There is recreation, shopping, dining, and I think something like 3,000 social clubs. So, for whatever your interest, I think you'll find people who enjoy it with you. So, the purpose of the show is if you want to get a sense of what's happening with real estate here, what long term price trends are, price per square foot, how many homes are selling, this is the show for you. If you're a buyer and you're trying to find a good deal here in the villages, please connect with me, DavidisinFlorida at gmail.com or DavidisinFlorida.com. Or if you're a seller, please consider consulting with us as to the highest reasonable price that your house could be expected to sell for. Which brings to mind this point. The Villages has two separate real estate marketplaces, the VLS and the MLS. The VLS is the Village's own internal real estate marketplace. It is the only market on which you'll find new homes, but pre owned homes are listed on both the VLS and the MLS. This is going to cause buyers and sellers to have to make a decision. If you're a buyer, you will need to have a broker who can show you both VLS and MLS properties, or you will not be able to see everything for sale here. Similarly, if you're a seller, you're going to have to decide which marketplace to list on, either VLS or MLS. You can't list on both. As I said, we produce this show every week. Make sure you check the date to ensure you're getting the most recent one. And if you find the information valuable, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And once again, if you're a buyer looking for a good deal or a seller trying to maximize your return, please reach out to us, DavidisinFlorida at gmail.com or DavidisinFlorida.com. Be happy to answer any questions you have. So, with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's happening this week. We start every week by taking a look at what's happening with interest rates. The chart you're looking at is the yield on the US 10-year note. The mortgage rate most closely tracks this yield. And unfortunately, the low that you see there in September is the period when the Fed lowered rates. And since then, interest rates have basically gone straight up. As I will show you on the next chart, mortgage rates up about a full percentage point since then. We'll have to see what this means for real estate prices. But for now, buyers are still flocking to the villages and prices seem to be holding. This is a chart showing you the recent trend in the 30-year mortgage rate. This chart goes back 1 year. You can see that since the Fed lowered rates in the middle of September, the mortgage rate has increased by about a full percentage point. Hardly what the Fed was hoping for, and we'll have to wait to see if home prices react to this increase in financing costs. So now let's take a look at the Villages itself, and I'm going to orient you for those who don't know where the Villages is. The Villages is located in Central Florida. The maps that you're looking at are going to show you all active listings in the Villages. The size of the dot represents the size of the home. 5 different sizes of dot representing the smallest to largest homes, and also 5 different colors of dot. The lightest dots are the most expensive per square foot, and the darkest dots the least expensive per square foot. And we're going to zoom in on the villages, specifically Lake Sumter. And as I focus on Lake Sumter, I'm going to switch back and forth between a map showing you the same properties, size and price, and the map that it's alternating with is a map showing you size and price per square foot. I think you can see that it does illustrate properties that might be worth investigating. But as we look at these maps and prices per square foot, I think it's important to note that in the villages there are other factors besides size and price per square foot. There are factors such as the view, the location, whether you have an unobstructed view of a golf course, and other intangibles that people put a great deal of value on here. Let's take a look at the current listings on the MLS. This week, 514 active listings. Last week, there were 523, which is the highest we've seen. But last year, there were only 315 active listings the same time of the year. Currently, the lowest priced home in the villages is $159,000. It's been on the market 66 days, and they have not reduced the price from the original asking price. The most expensive home in the villages has been on the market 119 days. It's just under $2.9 million and it was originally $2,950. Here we're looking at how long properties are staying on the market. Median time on the market this week is 61 days. Last week it was also 61 days. These are high numbers, among the highest that we've seen. Last year, the median time on the market for all listings was only 42 days. This is a chart that everybody always inquires after. This is the median list price for all properties on the MLS. This week it is 258.01. Last week 258.16. A year ago it was 260.83. It's worth noting that the lowest price that we've seen on a per foot basis was 257.89 in July of 2022. So before we dive into any more numbers, let's take a look at where these properties are. I'm going to show you where the properties are divided by price. So first, the properties under 100,000, there are none. Between 100 and 200,000, these 9 properties. Between 200,000 and 300,000, these 78 properties. 3 to 400,000, 198 properties. 4 to 500,000, 121 properties. 500 to 600,000, these 51. 600 to 700,000, these 25. 700 to 800,000, these 8. 800,000 to 900,000, these 10. 900,000 to a million, there are 5. And for the homes that are priced at over $1 million, there are 17 currently on the MLS. I don't mean to bore you with maps, but I'm going to show you how I've divided the villages into 4 different geographic regions so that we can compare price per square foot between them. This is the area that I'm calling the North. This is everything south of 42 and north of 466. Includes Spanish Springs and the original villages area across the freeway. This week there are 238 active listings in the North. Last week there were 240. The next area is the area that I'm calling the Mid-North. It's everything south of 466 and north of 466A. This includes Lake Sumter. This week, 150 active listings. Last week, only 147. This is the area that I'm calling the Mid-South. This is everything south of 466A and north of Highway 44. This week, 68 active listings. Last week, 71. And finally, this is the area that I'm calling the South. This week there are 58 active listings in this area. Last week there were 65. The South are all properties south of Highway 44. So now let's look at what happened last week specifically. We keep track of the new listings and homes going pending, giving us an idea of supply entering and leaving the market. Last week, 41 new listings, but 44 homes went pending. The previous week, there were 46 new listings and 44 homes went pending. And the same week a year ago, there were 42 new listings and only 32 homes went pending. And the previous graph gives rise to this one, which is purely a subtraction of new listings from pending home sales. This week, 3 more homes went pending than were listed. Last week, 2 more were listed than went pending, and a year ago, 10 more were listed than went pending. Numbers above the zero line means that inventory should shrink. Below the zero line means inventory will continue to increase. Let's take a quick look at the homes that went pending last week. Median price per square foot was $261.77. Previous week, $263.87. And a year ago, $266.82. Here we look at the median time on the market for the homes that went pending last week. It was 50 days. Previous week, only 45 days. A year ago, only 32 days. It's not common for us to see numbers over 50 here. We'll have to wait and see if this trend continues to get worse. And here's another sign that sellers are becoming more enthusiastic or more realistic. This week, the price change for the homes that went pending last week was a 5.57% reduction. That's the median change from the original list price. The previous week was only a 5.15% reduction for the homes going pending, and a year ago it was only a 3.86% reduction. Here's a bright spot for sellers. Activity did pick up last week. Number of sales was 45. Previous week was 24, and I believe the week before was only 10, but that was the week of the hurricane, so I'm sure a lot of closings got postponed. As I said, last week 45 sales, previous week 24, a year ago 41 sales. Of last week's sales, the least expensive home closing was 129,900. It had been on the market for only 6 days, and there was no discount from the original asking price. The highest priced home closing was 1,100,000, originally almost 1,300,000. That had been on the market for 251 days, and the seller accepted a 15% discount. The highest discount last week was an 18% discount. A home that was originally 540,000 closed for 445,000 after being on the market for 193 days. As I pointed out, sales activity really picked up since the week of the hurricane, as you can see on this graph, which is showing us seasonal trends. We're trying to keep track of how many sales per week throughout the year. The red line is 2024, the green line 2023, and the blue line 2022. As I said last week, 45 sales. In 2023, 41 for the same week, and in 2022, 27 sales for the same week. And with the number of sales increasing dramatically over the last 2 weeks, it's not surprising to see weeks of inventory drop. Last week represents only 11 and a half weeks inventory. The week before represented almost twice as many weeks. A year ago, though, it was less than 8. There certainly is a big difference between 10 sales a week and 45 sales a week, which is the range that we've seen over the last 2 weeks. We'll have to see what sales activity is like through the end of the year. So for those who've made it this far, let's take an in-depth look at the differences between the regions of the villages. First, the villages as a whole, 514 active listings this week. Sizes range from 672 square feet to 3738. Price per square foot ranging from 135 to 776, and prices in the villages currently ranging from 159,000 to just under $2.9 million. This is the area I'm calling the north, everything south of 42 and north of 466. 238 active listings this week, 672 square feet, the smallest home for sale, 2687, the largest. Price per square foot in the north ranging from 135 to 373, and prices ranging from 159,000 to 879,000. It is worth mentioning that a lot of lifestyle visits take place in the south, and a lot of new residents only consider the south, but there are very good deals available in the north, and you really should consider the entirety of the villages if you're considering moving here. This is the mid-north, everything south of 466 and north of 466A. 150 active listings this week. Sizes range from 1,090 to 3,090 square feet. Prices from 270,000 to 1.8 million. And on a per foot basis, you can find listings from $208 to $675 a foot. This is the Mid-South, 68 active listings. Sizes range from 1,152 to 3,738 square feet. 1,904 square feet is the median. Price per foot in the Mid-South ranges from 216 to 776 with a median of 282. And prices in the Mid-South range from 275,000 to just under 2.9 million with the median house 515,000. And this is the South, 58 active listings this week, sizes from 961 to 3,260 square feet, prices from 250,000 to 1,275,000, and on a per foot basis, prices in the South range from 226 to 536. Let's take one more look at the differences between the regions in this next chart. Here we're comparing the price range per square foot by comparing different price buckets and seeing what the least, median, and most expensive per square foot home is in those buckets. In the under $200,000 group, the least expensive home is $135 a square foot, and the most $281. In the most expensive bucket, the home's costing over $1.5 million. The least expensive on a per square foot basis is $462. Most expensive is $776, and the median priced home in the $1.5 million price range is $526 a foot. And let's take a look at how motivated sellers are. This week, the median price decrease from the original list price for all active MLS listings is a 52.72% decrease. Last week, it was 52.74, but a year ago, only 51.72% of listings had reduced their asking price. And we finish with a chart that should give sellers some hope. This is the actual decrease for all listings on the MLS. This week, the median decrease only 3.47% from the original asking price. Last week, it was 3.7%, and a year ago, it was over 4%. That is this week's look at the Villages real estate market. If you're a buyer and you're trying to find a good deal here, please reach out to me at DavidisinFlorida.com or DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. I'll be happy to advise you or help you find what you're looking for. And if you're a seller, I hope you consider using us to determine the highest reasonable asking price that your property can command. If you have any questions about life in Central Florida or life in the Villages itself, or obviously real estate in the Villages, please reach out to me, DavidisinFlorida.com, DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. Be happy to help you any way I can. Hope to hear from you. Take care.